This is the Last Angry Geek. He's accused of being a representative of a major problem within the comic book industry, namely that it's male only. We can't show him entering this courtroom because he can only afford this cheap green screen effect. This is Amanda Hug and Kiss. It's a cheap joke, but we're sure the geek will come up with a funnier name before this goes to film. They've agreed to settle their differences here in the comic book court.
Your Honor, we are here today because it is clear that given the amount of evidence, the comic book industry is overwhelmingly male-centric. All the superheroines are cheap female knockoffs of established men, with the exception of Wonder Woman. For example, we have Supergirl, Batgirl, Spider-Woman, She-Hulk. I pose to you this question. Why is it that we cannot have female heroines that have their own identities, wearing costumes that are respectful of their bodies?
Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen of the courts, that was a right purty speech. But what are comic books if not a reflection of the times? And I say the times call for white men to dominate all forms of entertainment, save sports. I'm sure Your Honor understands being a white male. Well, only my hands really, and I don't have a sex as far as I've been able to determine. I find in favor of the chick. I decree that the Last Angry Geek will turn his show over to her. I'm ruined! Oh, no, God, oh, no, what am I gonna do?
This is a great day for equality. Thank you, Your Honor.
And I declare that from now on, Amanda will be known as the Last Angry Geek.
Daughter of a bitch.
Enjoy the show.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to Comic Book Issues. I'm your host, the Last Angry Geek. On today's episode, we're looking at the first two issues.
Okay, I'm sorry. I know we're only 30 seconds into your first episode, but the rating's already so bad you've been canceled.
Damn!
Wow. Satire can hurt. On today's episode, we're going to be reviewing the first two issues of She-Hulk by Charles Soule and Javier Pulido. Jennifer Walters was the cousin of Bruce Banner, the Hulk. Visiting his lawyer cousin to seek legal advice on whether or not he was liable for any damages the Hulk committed, Bruce ended up saving Jen's life after a drive-by shooting. A blood transfusion irradiated her, and Jennifer became the savage She-Hulk. Over time, She-Hulk gained control of her faculties and became a fixer of both the Avengers and Fantastic Four. She's also starred in several solo titles, helmed by John Byrne and a pre-Spider-Man Dan Slott. Having recently been a part of an alternate Fantastic Four in FF, it's time for the She-Hulk to return to doing what she does best. Practice law and party hard. I'll bet you guys didn't know that I was a Hulk. It's true. That alone explains why the word angry is such a big part of my character.
But the Last Angry Geek isn't green.
Well, you put him on a boat and he is. What? Anyway, it's time for a brand new She-Hulk series. Let's take a close look at the first two issues. Issue 1 opens with a splash showing what the She-Hulk is all about. She fights hard and parties hard. At her law firm, she's confident her annual review will net her a nice fat raise. However, her bosses aren't happy. She won't be getting a bonus despite her good work. They hired her on the hopes that Jennifer would bring them more jobs from the superhero community. They didn't need another lawyer. Dejected, She-Hulk quits and takes only a blue file with her. Her bosses hardly seem to notice. That is, until she uses a fraction of her strength to split their rare lumber table in half. At a bar, just as she's about to drown her sorrows, she meets Holly Harrow, who wants to sue someone the law community considers career suicide. Her late husband, a former supervillain, was sure that his work was stolen by this person, and Jen agrees to arbitrate with him. Him being Tony Stark. However, her friendly greeting by Stark's holographic receptionist is rescinded when she makes it clear she's here on a legal matter. A long walk leads to Stark's lawyer, known only as Legal. Dr. Harrow was a supercriminal who believed that Stark stole his technology before he was killed. However, since the lawsuit fails to correctly name Tony's business, Legal considers it irrelevant and dismisses She-Hulk. So far we've had a peer review session, a meeting about a lawsuit in a bar, and tons of legalese talk to explain why that lawsuit is no good. Are we having fun yet? In court, the hearing indicates that this lawsuit is over Tony's repulsor technology, but before She-Hulk can get going, she's interrupted by legal. He floods the judge with multiple motions, not the least of which is Jennifer having a grudge against Tony for past altercations, both physical and romantic. While going through Dr. Harrow's storage unit, she's attacked by a robot. She smashes it and finds a tape recorder inside. Listening to the cassette, Jen realizes she has what she needs. Determined, she walks back into Stark Tower. When several robots try to bar her because of the lawsuit, she decides it's Shulky Smash time. She finds her way to Tony's office. Stark wasn't even aware of the lawsuit until Jennifer lays it out for him. Harrow recorded a conversation with a man named Eddie Finch, who ran one of Stark's subsidiaries. Then, 6 months later, Iron Man introduced repulsor technology with the same improvements Harrow designed. Stark's aware of Finch. He was fired years ago for unethical business practices. She and Tony could let this remain in courts for years, but she believes in his good nature and knows Tony will write a check to Harrow's widow. Tony Stark is impressed. Later, a grateful Holly presents Jen with a very substantial check, something She-Hulk decides to use to start her own law practice. Issue 2 opens with She-Hulk realizing she needs some clients.
Jesus. Hello? It's like she's looking right past me.
She briefly considers the blue file from last issue. It seems one man has sued an assortment of villains and heroes, including herself. Her new landlady, Sharon King, introduces herself. She rents exclusively to people with superpowers, as it's a niche market. Sharon recognizes this because she's a former mutant who lost her powers on M-Day. Jennifer goes to meet the applicants looking to become her paralegal. She grabs a cup of coffee and comes back only to find one still waiting. She asks the remaining applicant, Angie, if she'll be bringing her monkey with her. She will. Jennifer hires her. Angie, monkey in tow, sits down, intending to work immediately. Jen tries to drum up some business, but finds herself blackballed by her former bosses. She ducks out early for drinks with Patsy Walker, aka Hellcat. Without a gamma-irradiated liver, however, Patsy gets drunk quickly, suggests they go out and beat up some bad guys before running off, leaving Jennifer to trail after her.
Did you know that over 3% of all civilian casualties and over 9% of all civilian property damage is caused by drinking and fighting crime? It's true. So please, the next time you see your teammate, partner, or casual acquaintance warm up their suit of power armor, sharpen up their metal-laced claws, or whip out a batarang before saying, "Hey, watch this," make sure you get their weapons, armor, and or keys to the Batmobile beforehand, because by the time the first thing happened, it'll be too late. Who wrote this copy?
Hellcat leads them to an advanced idea mechanics lab. She-Hulk can't talk her out of it, so they bust in. The lab seems abandoned, but a pair of AIM scientists are watching. Even though they could lay low, one of them decides to make a name for himself by taking out a pair of superheroes with a frankly bulky and impractical supersuit. The second scientist gets his claws on Hellcat. Jen argues that she just wants to get her friend home, but might kill the men if they hurt her. Moments later, the two men are tied up and Patsy tries to apologize. Jen realizes she could use an investigator for the firm and hires Patsy. The next morning, she's late to work when she's met by Angie. She's got someone waiting for her. It turns out to be Christophe Bernard, the adopted son of Dr. Doom, and he wants to defect to America.
Actress Angie Harmon recently said she'd like to play the She-Hulk. I wonder if that's who they named Jen's new paralegal after. Well, that's the first 2 issues of the latest volume of She-Hulk. How do these issues hold up? Are they rainmakers, or should I call for a mistrial? Let's take a closer look at She-Hulk, issues 1 and 2.
To be perfectly honest, I liked the first issue, but didn't like the second. And when I say I liked the first issue, I mean it was okay. Now, Charles Soule is a great writer. He took over the New 52 Swamp Thing from Scott Snyder, and I don't feel that book missed a beat. But in this one, it feels like he's not found the proper feel for the title yet. I'm just coming off She-Hulk's appearance in the brilliant FF by Matt Fraction and Mike Aldred. I'm also a huge fan of Dan Slott's run on the previous volumes, and that's become the measuring stick to which I shall hold all future She-Hulk solo titles. In fact, there's a surprising amount of similarities to the first issue of Dan Slott's run and this first issue. Both start with She-Hulk taking her life for granted, getting fired from a prestigious law firm, heading into a bar, and finally taking a job at a new firm, or in the newer issue's case, starting up her own firm. However, Soule falls into the Hulk trap. He's more interested in writing about the Green Giantess than the normal woman at her core. John Byrne did that, but only after he established she was stuck in that form. FF did that, but she was one of a cast of over 15 characters and only ever really had 1 issue dedicated to her that I recall, so you could forgive Matt Fraction for that. What made Slott's book work is he was very focused on the balance between Jennifer Walters and the She-Hulk. How Jennifer was shy and unconfident, but She-Hulk could be promiscuous and outgoing. Here we just get the She-Hulk version of the character, and that overwhelming confidence frankly rubs me wrong at times. The rest of the book works well when it's her up against the almost relentless legal machine that represents Tony Stark. That was funny, and at its heart, She-Hulk has always been a funny book. The second issue didn't capitalize as much, introducing their supporting cast of Sharon, who was bland, Hellcat, who came off as annoying, but she was drunk, so maybe the character is redeemable, and Angie. Angie had a monkey. I'm no fan of weird for the sake of weird, so that's already a point against her. The whole battle against AIM felt very forced and didn't really serve a point, and it's in this issue that Javier Pulido's art, which I initially found reminiscent of Mike Aldred's, really started to bother me. The art is overly stylized, which can sometimes work if it fits the writing. It works best in the first issue, but the second, I made a joke about this before, but Pulido starts drawing all of his character wall-eyed. It looks as though they're staring past us. That really bothers me when I'm trying to read the book and the art just feels wrong. Hopefully the eyes get improved in the next issue.
I'd probably give the first issue 3 stars, and I'd probably give the second issue 1 star. So let's split the difference. I give She-Hulk issues 1 through 2, 2 out of 5 stars. Saul's a good writer, and I think with a little more time with the character, this book could grow into a must-read. Until next time, folks, I'm your host.
Wait a minute. I just checked, and the ratings that got me canceled were still 10 times better than the ratings you've been putting on.
Oh, damn this system that punishes women for success. Okay, fine. What do you want?
We're going back to court. Unless you review another series starring a female, and it can't be based on a male hero.
Well, how about the new Miss Marvel series?
Oh, please, I am so sick of blogs.
No, that's Captain Marvel. Miss Marvel is the teen hero who takes on her old identity. And she's a devout Muslim.
Deal.
This is a great day for court-sanctioned blackmail.